fighting for New Zealand in self-imposed political exile. Today I'm going to talk about the Ngatiwikitoria tribe over in New Zealand. Now, what has happened in our countries, in England, Scotland, Ireland, SOS, Canada, America, South Africa, New Zealand and Australia. A lot of you don't realise that all of these countries had native people hundreds of years ago. When all the fighting broke out in Germany, there was a 30 years war where the Jews, the Muslims and the Catholics were hanging thousands upon thousands of they were called non-Christians, non-Jews, non-Catholics, and all of those were strung up alive in the middle of the streets. They would ride into the town, the whole town, all of the men would be strung up, the women would be taken and used as slaves. This went on for 30 years, and the religions had taken hold in all the countries. Wherever the religions have taken hold of the countries, I'm not going to mention the specific ones, but they've always ended up being thrown out. And one of those religions collects interest on all the leases of all the lands, and the interest would go up and up and up and up. And originally, all religions were permitted to charge this interest rate, but then a couple of the religions removed that ability, but the Jewish religion was the only one that didn't remove that ability. In the end, what the Catholics did was that they would give the management of the land to the Jews, and then the Jews would charge the interest because the Catholics were not allowed to, and then they would pass a portion of that on to the Catholics, who would make sure that they were the only one, that the Jews were the only ones allowed to manage the lands. Now, what I'm going to talk about is that most of the people were natives on the land, and in around about 1837, they shipped out, around about 1843, they shipped out thousands and thousands of Germans onto those lands, and those people were a people that had no nationality. And before they stepped foot onto the shore of those lands, they were made subjects under the king, and as subjects they were never, ever, ever in perpetuity permitted to ever own allodial land. Now this law only applies to white people. It doesn't apply to black people, well, mostly white people. And what I'm telling you today is that it's a bit hard for me to explain, but not only were they got removed from there the right to own land, but they got given to them a trust in perpetuity called the Queen Victoria Trust. And the Queen Victoria Trust was the labours of the land. See, the man is the penis. The man has the penis, and that's the land. And he could only, the land couldn't produce fruits. And the penis can only produce one. The penis, when it has a sperm, only one offspring can be gotten from that. But it's the female that when the seed enters the female produces the fruit, and that's what produces the labour. And at some point in time in history, the wise men got together and they said, hey, the actual land itself is worth nothing, but the fruits of the land and the labour of the land is what creates all the commerce, and so that everybody would be known by their single coinage, by the coinage that you make from your labour. That is how much of the things in life that you want to have. So if you work hard and you have a lot of coinage, then you get to have a luxury house and you get to have, lots of nice things. And if you don't work hard, how it's supposed to be, then you didn't get much coinage. Somebody came up with the idea that this group of people have got coinage and this group of people don't work and they don't have coinage, so the group of people that worked hard and had coinage should give it to them. And then all the religions got involved, but I'll tell you about that in another day. But what I want to tell you about today is this queen. Oh, that light's shining in my face, isn't it? This back here. It's the middle of the night here. Oh, it's still going to shine, isn't it? This queen, it just shines. I'm taking my glasses off. Right, this Queen Victoria Trust has been going on since 1840. The Queen Victoria Trust was established in Ireland, Scotland, New Zealand, Australia. America didn't get it. America threw them out, and Canada got it. We're in South Africa. Now, this Queen Victoria Trust belongs to us Anglo-Saxon people that built these countries. They're trying to tell you that these countries aren't yours, and we're in the midst of them making a transfer that they've got only the land, and they're doing a sneaky deal with America and the United Nations, and they're transferring this whole Queen Victoria Trust that has belonged to us for the last 200 years. All the money's in that trust, and what they're doing is they're sifting all that money out. They're giving all that money to the natives of the land, and they're saying that they're throwing out the king. They're going to take the land back, but it's not the land that they want back. The land is worth nothing without the labours of the people and the fruits of the land. But what they want to do is they want to throw the king out of New Zealand, and they want to take control of this Queen Victoria Trust, which is all the labours of our ancestors for the last 200 years. They want to take that, they want to put it in the power of another king, and then they want to have all of that. So they want the seed and they want the fruits to be combined into one, and that's the homosexual. That's what we're fighting here, folks. Now, this same thing, if you're in Scotland, it's the same thing. Australia, the same thing. You'll notice they're saying we're giving it all back, but they're not giving it back. It was never taken. What they're doing is stealing our Queen Victoria Trust. Now, who is in the Ngati? There's a tribe. Now, this tribe belongs, the Ngatiwikitoria tribe are in Canada. There's some in 6 states of America. If they come out from Germany in 1843, you can guarantee they belong to this Queen Victoria Trust. I'm only doing New Zealand. Australia, you've got to go and find your own. Canada, America, you've got to go and find your own. Scotland, you've got them. You have these Queen Victoria Trust documents. Ireland, you have them. Not if you're Catholic, though. But if you're a Protestant, you've got them. So I'm only going to show you ours and how important they are. Now, this, in 1843, this, so I'm hoping everybody can see all of this. Now, this is called, this here is called the joint stock company called the Union Bank of Australia. Now, this became the Bank of Australia and New Zealand. Now, over in New Zealand, they've decided to change our name to Aotearoa, and they've changed it to Aotearoa because they needed the A, because A actually stands for Australia. The Union Bank of Australia is what it stands for, but then that got changed to Australia, New Zealand, and then they've done this sneaky thing, renaming our country Aotearoa, which becomes, that's why they keep saying to you, Aotearoa, New Zealand, because all these Maoris have gone and put themselves under Aotearoa, and they're stealing our Queen Victoria Trust out of New Zealand and putting it into Aotearoa, which is this joint stock company here that we're talking about right here. Now, this was set up, This was actually set up in 1843. It was all got passed in 1844 on the 11th of July. But if you look here, this is the German settlers' naturalization, and what you'll see here that it was done. It was at the 16th of July. The German settlers. It was passed together with after the Joint Union Bank of Australia. All right, then. This was passed here, but in an actual fact, it came to be on the 14th day of June, 1843, and we became natural-born subjects of Her Majesty as if they had been respectively born in the realm of New Zealand. Now, these people here all became the Ngatiwikitoria tribe, and they are all the owners of the Queen Victoria Trust. Now, you might think to yourself, wow, what good is that? Well, what you'll see here is the directors, which are the AB. It's the AB are the directors of this company, and they come under a thing called the Bills of Exchange. Sorry, oops. Oh, where's my Bills of Exchange? Sorry. So they come under the Bills of Exchange here. Now, this Bills of Exchange, know all men that I be the householder of in the colony of New Zealand at the request of CD, there being no notary public available, did on the day of 18 something demand payment or acceptance of the bill of exchange here underwritten from EF, to which demand he made answer, and then wherefore I now, in the presence of GH and JK, do protest the said bill of exchange. Now, there's all sorts of things in this 1883 bills of exchange, but this is connected to this Union Bank of Australia, which is connected to the Queen Victoria Trust. Now, on this, they also have got a very special one here that I'm going to be reading to Johan Wainoa, where for the purpose of the Act, where a bill or note is required to be protested within a specific time on or before some further proceeding is taken, it is sufficient that the bill has been noted for protest before the expiration of the specified time or the taking of the proceeding, and the formal protest may be extended at any time thereafter as of the date of noting. So when I'm making my video affidavit, as I'm about to be doing now, when I'm making that as a video affidavit that I'm saying that these things are to be true. And if I miss out on any deadlines over this claim of the Queen Victoria Trust, where they're trying to make the transfer of all the fruits of our labours of the last 180 years, that they're in the process of stealing from us and putting us into billions of dollars, they're putting us into billions of dollars of slave debt in the Black Rock corporation over in America. They're taking our Queen Victoria Trust and using it as collateral for billions of dollars of loans from the Black Rock corporation company, and when our country is not able to pay that debt, they're going to go and scoop it up from our Queen Victoria Trust and take it from us. And those billions of dollars that are coming into New Zealand that are just recently going to be borrowed on the 28th of September, Australia and New Zealand are entering into a deal to borrow billions of dollars from the Black Rock company. I will just say to you that I'm not a lawyer and I'm not giving anyone advice. I'm saying that this is the way that I, Kate Floss, see what they're doing in my mentally inept brain. This is what I see them doing, and they're borrowing billions of dollars to put us into debt. But the backdrop of it is our Queen Victoria Trust, which they're scooping out of our hands, putting it into the UN as collateral for this loan. When the billions of dollars come, they're passing it out to all of these fake Islander and Maori private businesses. We have no say over what they're doing, and then they're funneling it in the country, through the country, and right out the country to their overseas offshore companies that they've got. It's the biggest takedown of the Western world that you have ever seen. And I'm only just Kate Floss fighting by myself. But if I make my affidavits here, it says here, as long as I make my affidavit now, we're going to get back in the court. I'm already in the courts, but we can clip this on. If I make my affidavits here, I can use it later as long as I put in my protest of the bills of exchange. Now, if you go down here, these are all the names, and what you'll see here is the 5 Sixtus brothers, Johann Friedrich Andreas Sixtus. Then you'll see Johann Carl Christian Sixtus, Johann Christian Andreas Sixtus, Johann Wilhelm Heinrich Sixtus, and Johann Gottfried George Sixtus. And that's my 3G great-grandfather. So he's a 3G great-grandfather. Now, there's a lot going on. I'm just going to quickly tell you the outline of this. Now, this here is the indemnity for some soldiers. Now, this 1847 act here was able to be accomplished because when the Supreme Court of New Zealand, Hong Kong, Canada, 6 states of America, Australia, certain states, Queensland, Victoria, Tasmania, New South Wales, they are all a part of this. They're all under it. Scotland is under it. We're all under it. Well, when all this done, they set up the Supreme Court under Queen Victoria, and then they attached on the first subjects, which were not able to be subjects of England. They could not already be subjects. They had to be an empty vessel, children that had no nationality, children that had no citizenship, had not yet been created. Citizenship wasn't even in existence. It came into existence because of these group of people here. And then, so they, first of all, they made them subjects. They attached them onto the Supreme Court, and then they naturalized the first persons within New Zealand to go to war under Queen Victoria. That's Thomas Walker Nene, and he became Abraham Kaiser. Now, Abraham Kaiser is, if you've got to go, you really got to go and listen on YouTube to the story of Abraham and Lot. And Abraham was the first emperor of New Zealand was Thomas Wakanene. So he was clipped on to all of these, right? And then and him and some other chiefs. And then now I'm going to show you, if you're not on these, if you don't have these oaths to Queen Victoria, then you're not part of the Ngatiwikitoria tribe. I'm asking everybody, SOS, SOS, Scotland, Ireland, England, all of you had German settlers, Protestant Germans under the Queen Sophia, Protestant Germans who left Germany when they were children, and they went into those 3 countries. They also went into certain parts of America, certain parts of Canada, certain parts of Australia, and they are all part of the Ngatiwikitoria tribe. It's worldwide, and South Africa, but it's a specific group of people. And then here they are, Carl Smith on the 14th of February 1899, Carl Smith, I do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Victoria, her heirs and successors, according to the law, so help me God. Next one, I, Frederick Culling, do swear, this is in March 18, I believe that there's one for every single month of the, whenever they ascended a law, they ascended one of these. They ascended, now Queen Victoria died in 1902, so they started transferring everything in 1899, and every single imperial law that had to be ascended to the new king, which was King Edward VII, every single imperial law that had to be transferred, it was all transferred through these people. And so every time they wanted to transfer an imperial law to be ready for the new king, they had to attach it to a single subject. One imperial law ascending to Edward VII, one subject, and then these subjects were all, it went in tandem together before Queen Victoria passed, and so they all hold Queen Victoria's law in their descendants, which is me. It's no good killing me. A lot of people are threatening me. It's no good killing me. All you people over in New Zealand that are threatening me, it's no good, because there are thousands of these people. And now that I've made this video, I'm putting it up on YouTube, everyone's going to know to go and find these and join together to make Ngatiwikitoria tribe. 26th of May. Now here's Charlie Brown. I'm going to make another video all about Snoopy. And when I tell you about Snoopy and Charlie Brown, you're going to be like, wow, Kate Floss, that's amazing. But here's Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown, in fact, Charlie Brown does not come from America. Charlie Brown, surprise, surprise, Charlie Brown comes from Germany. Yep, you heard it from me, Kate Floss. Charlie Brown is German, and he's part of the Queen Victoria Trust. I, Charles Brown of, I don't quite know what it says there, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Victoria, her heirs and successors according to the law. So help me God. Charlie Brown, 1899. Charlie Brown. Now you've got Adolf Bogler. Adolf Bogler was in, so you see, Charlie Brown was in May. Now, any of you, so I'm going to show you where to find these documents. If you go and put your name in, if you are lucky enough, it's Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. If you are lucky enough to find the golden ticket to get into my Queen Victoria Trust, then you can contact me, Kate Floss, and tell me I'm thinking that there's one for every month of the year of 1899, and there's a couple in 1900. Queen Victoria died in 1901. So anybody that's got the allegiance to Queen Victoria, anybody that's got an allegiance, it can be 1837. You might have yours in 1837. I believe that there will be a whole bunch of them, but these ones were all done just before she died and ready for the succession to King Edward VII. So there's Charlie Brown. This one is in June. I, Adolf Bogler, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Victoria, her heirs and successors. And then on the 26th of June, I, Leopold Dentist, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Victoria. And here is, his name is Ah. Ah. Now, Ah in Maori language means first breath. That's what it means. And he did his on the 14th of July in 1899. Now, 1899 is a very auspicious year because the 18 is 3 sixes. And then it can be the 6 and the 9 are interchangeable. You can flip them. And the 2 9s can be 2 sixes. So there's 5 sixes, and there are 5 sixtus brothers. Now, you're going to find out later why these sixtuses, without the ordinance of the 5 sixtus brothers who were 18 years old, 20 years old, 18 years old, 16 years old, 14 years old, and 12 years old. Without those, these wouldn't have been able to have come to pass. So there were 5 sixtus brothers, and there are 5 sixes in 1899. So that is something. And not only that, the 1 and the 8. Now it can be 666 or it can be 999, whichever way you want to look at it. Some of you are going to call it the devil, and some of you are going to not call it the devil. I don't really know who is devil and who is angel, but it has got a 666. It has got a 1 on it, which is another story there. But anyway, this is hawk, and hawk, Hawk, and the hawk is significant as well. And means first breath, the first breath. And this guy here is actually a Chinese. So he come from China. So that'll be interesting there. We've got here the 8th of November, 1899, which is another 8. That's going to be a 1688. I, August Brown, the labourer, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance. So here's A. Brown. Now, September, we've got Ferdinand Lang. And Ferdinand Lang, he'll come up later. But anyway, he's a Ferdinand Lang. And then we've got, now, this one here was done on the 17th of August. And this is I, Dorothea. So Queen Victoria A, if you go and look up on these documents are all called Victoria A's with an AE and not an AI. And the A, see, they're trying to do it. See, this is the flip where they're getting rid of the AE and they're flipping it around to the AI, which is the IA. So I don't really know what's going on in the heavenly realm, why they've done that, but I will just tell you that the Victoria A, it's called Victoria A, all right? And they're flipping it around to AI. Well, then if you come down to Dorothea, she is an EA. So I, Dorothea Sixtus, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Victoria, her heirs and successors, according to law, so help me God. Now, she's my 3G grandmother, right? And she married into, this is August. So she's August, and he's also August Philippe Dybert. So I don't know what that's about, dying. But he's on the 22nd of August. Now, this one here is in 1902. Now, these ones are not Victoria A's, But these ones are when they made the transition. Queen Victoria died in 1901, and in 1902, His Majesty King Edward VII, now Johann George Gottfried Sixtus, on the 8th day of August 1902, ascended to His Majesty King Edward, and King Edward had not been yet coronated, and King Edward was coronated on the 9th day of August 1902, one day after Johann George Gottfried ascended. Now, if you've got the 1902 documents, you're still in the Queen Victoria Trust, because that was ascended through my family, did the Queen Victoria, and then they also, Gottfried, did the, ascended it to His Majesty King Edward, right? And then on the 9th of August, King Edward ascended. And then in 1908, Johann Christian Karl Sixtus, so you can actually see them up there from the ordinance. So you've got your Union Bank, the Joint Stock Company, and then you've got Karl Christian here. So Karl Christian Sixtus, and then you've got Gottfried George Sixtus. All right, and then it may actually be, I don't know about Dorothea, which Dorothea she is, but what you'll see is that those two, now it's significant to know that Christian Karl Sixtus ascended in 1908. And you'll see here that we've got the lion and the unicorn. In my next video, you're going to hear me talking about the lion and the unicorn. You can't, all these people that are putting up just the lion, if they've got the lion and not the unicorn, they're not the people that are on our side, okay? They're just not. So you need the lion and the unicorn, which is the male, the seed, and the female, the fruit. The fruit, you won't get fruit from a tree if you don't have a seed, and you won't get fruit from a seed if you don't have the ovaries to connect it with. So you need both of them. You need a man and you need a woman, and you need a sperm and you need an ovary to produce the fruit and produce the labour of the land. And it's those labours that creates the money. Now, going down here, now Gregory Cook is announcing that I'm going to be showing you what the battle is soon, but Gregory Cook is announcing to me, don't you say that, and Edward Moses is coming up. Edward Moses says, Kate Floss, don't you dare say that you own the Queen Victoria Trust, because you cannot, he says. And they're all threatening me. They're threatening little old lady Kate Floss living in another country, not even hurting anybody. And these men, these males are all threatening to hurt me. SOS, Scotland, Ireland, Australia, everybody come in and help me. Bring in all your Queen Victoria documents. Bring them in to me, because these men are threatening me, little old Kate Floss, for just saying that I want to be part of the Queen Victoria Trust, which I am. I am the birth. I birthed the Queen Victoria Trust. It's birthed from my ancestors. Although Gregory Cook, you can be, now Gregory Cook, I went and searched. Now I'm going to put this up on the link. You can go in and search. Now where's the search engine that I had? Oops. Have I lost it? here. Now, I'm going to be putting this up. This is very, very easy to find. All you've got to do is Google Archives. Now, if you're in Australia, you'll Google Archives Australia. And you'll just go in there, like that, and you'll see Archives in there, and you can just click on it. All right? You just click on it, and you go to search, and you just put in. Now this is very, very case sensitive, so you can click in there Sextus, and then you'll put in 18. This is how you find out. I can't go through everybody's names, and if I don't know your names, I can't put them in anyway. So this is case sensitive, and if you haven't got the right name or even one letter out, it will come up as being nothing in there. So, just enter that, and what you'll see coming up is there's only one. I've only got one, and that will come up like this. Dorothea Sextus is not Lextus, it's Sextus. Dorothea in Monterey, and then you'll click on, and you'll see a file system come up, and you'll be able to see Dorothea Sextus, the colonial secretary. You'll have the lion and the unicorn, right? And then you'll be able to see, I don't know about one. There you'll see her oath of allegiance and some other documents in there. Now you can go over there. You can just put in there. Now some of you, if you haven't got an 1899, you can go in to 1902 because you'll get King Edward. See, I'll just put in Sextus like that. And then I'll get here Gottfried. He's 1902, and there's Gottfried. So you can go in there. Another one that you can go in is Gregory Cook. So you just put in Cook with an E if you want. And Cook is he 1902? And then you'll see he's got Edward Cook, and you'll go over there to Edward Cook, and then that's where you'll find it. And so all these people, when they're saying to the court, we're not in your jurisdiction, they're actually correct because they've removed the crown from the court, and all these people are latching on to their Queen Victoria Trust, and they're lying to you. They're latching. Now anybody can do this under the 1688, but you just get an extra cookie if you're actually in the trust there. So not everybody's in the trust, but everybody can be under the 1688 Bill of Rights. So there's him. You can even go, there's Edward Cook. You can even go in there, because I wanted to find Edward Moses. So you can go under Moses, because I wanted to see if Edward Moses was in this. Edward Moses are some people in New Zealand. Now, if you put in Moses, you've come up with those. There's the Moseses, full of islanders, full of them, full of islanders. There's no islanders in mine. Edward Moses has married into all the islanders, and he wants to scoop out our New Zealand Queen Victoria Trust, and then he wants to pass it over to his families over in the islands. And Edward, you can't do that. But if we do put in Edward Moses 1899, we will get one naturalisation, and we will get. Now, if you want to know where's Coopy, this is Edward Moses. You will know what he's talking about when he tells you that they come from Coopy, because you look here. So you'll see, you just type in there Moses, right? And then you'll see all the islanders. 1,198 Moseses, and almost all of them are islanders. They're mostly islanders from 1966. And then when Edward Moses talks about the islands, that we come from the islands, what he's talking about, so you'll see that there's no naturalizations from them. What Edward is talking about is, he says you all come from Kupi. So if you remove that, well, I'm going to show it to you in a minute. If you remove Ritz Mid, M-I-D-T, okay, and someone's calling them Dimed, M-I-D-T, right? If you remove that, you're going to end up with Kupi, and you'll end up with a Mrs. Dora. Now, Dora is not my Dorothea. She's not. And then you'll see here, he came under Abram Moses. Now, go back. So anyway, you can all go in there and put your names in there. Now, what you'll see here is this one here. Now you'll see, here's an oath of allegiance from 1899. I hope you all can see it. And his name is Carl Schmidt, M-I-D-T, from 1899. And I believe that what they did is they clipped off the Schmidt from, they clipped off the Schmidt, and they clipped off the R from Cooper, and they came up with Kupi to clip on to all those islanders. Here's the deception. If you're in the group, the Ngatiwikitoria group that's battling at the moment, here's the deception. They clipped off the Smith, and they clipped off the R, and they clipped Kupi on to all those islanders, right? And then they put that Smith under here as the Queen Victoria. That's what they did. Now, this Abraham may also be a very special person, because it may actually be, we don't actually know who, Abraham Kaiser is. Now, if that man there, that Smith man, which is actually his true name, is Kupi. His true name, it's actually not Kupi. His true name is Cooper Smith. If what they've done is a very sneaky thing, they've separated Cooper Smith and only just made it Smith, who may have then transferred that name to be Smith. The skullduggery went on right back there in New Zealand. Remember that Queen Victoria, they tried to kill her 5 times. And we're not sure. I had thought that this Abraham Kaiser is Tamati Wakanene, but I'm having my doubts now that Abraham Kaiser may in fact be Cooper Smith. But it really doesn't matter, because let's all remember that Cooper Smith or Abraham Kaiser or Tamati Wakanene, just remember that the 5 Sixtus brothers came first in 1843, and it's all sat on them. Now, so we'll go back down here, and so that's Smith, and then there's a place of birth by a cook who is Dora Mary William Cook, and she was born in 1899. Now, it's possible that Dora Mary was born of Mrs. Dora Smith. It's possible. This comes up for the years, we can't get into, this comes up for the years 1945, but I wouldn't guarantee on that because we're not allowed to see it. It's $25. And I'm not sure if that's correct because we won't know because it's got here Cooper Abraham Morris Schmidt, who was Abraham Moses. And then we've got Cooper Schmidt, which is Mrs. Dora. And then we've got Carl Schmidt, which is here where they've clipped it off. And then we've got Dora down here, who was born on the 10th of the 12th of 1899. Oh. Oh, right. So now I had an Edward there somewhere. Oh, and it's interesting. I'm thinking that Gregory Cook and Edward Moses are in cahootsies together. They're in cahoots because he's Edward Cook and our Edward that's claiming to be Ngatiwikitoria, he's Edward Moses. And I'm thinking that the Cooks and the Moseses are all teamed up together, all right? So that's what I'm thinking. Now, where you might think, well, where is this going and what the hell is all this about, Kate Floss? Well, remember our Bills of Exchange Act? I'll turn that off. So I'll put that up in the links for you. That's Dora. Right, just give me a minute. I'm almost finished the video now. But I wanted to show you where this is going. All right, so here's where it's going. This group here. Now, I'll just show you all those people that I've just talked about. The Moseses, the Cooks, and the Cooks. Now, it depends if they've got an ordinance like mine. I've got my ordinance, and there are several ordinances, and all the people that own these ordinances, but the first one was done on the St. Pauli ship, and they are all privy to land blocks in Nelson. They're privy to, see, there's the name, they're privy to land blocks in Nelson. They're privy to the forestries. They're privy to the prospecting and mining licenses of Takaka, the Marble Mountains, the silver mining. They're privy to the limestone quarries and the lime works. The Ruahine forest all belongs to them over in Nelson. There's the Sixtus Brothers, the Nelson Conservancy, the Forest Management, also in Napier District, also the Mining and Inspection, the Consolidated Silver Mining Company, all belongs to the Sixtuses. Limestones over in Takaka, Motueka. These are blocks of land, Section 14, Block 5, the Skelet and Gold, all of that. There's many, many more. The mining and prospecting, there's so much that they are privy to, and all of that belongs to this, that they're now going to go with Koopy. Koopy who is connected to all those islanders. Now, Koopy himself Or if we went to look at Smith himself, he's come out from Finland. So that, or was it Cook that's come out from Finland? He's come out, I should go and look at him again, but he's come out either from Finland or Germany. He never came from the islands, but he must have at some point settled into the islands, bred with females all through the islands, and then he came over to New Zealand and naturalised in New Zealand. And then all the islanders that get their descendancy from Kupi, which is actually Cooper Schmidt, all of those ones, they're going after Takaka. And this is the Nelson tenths. Now this comes here through, now I'm not going to go into talking too much about this, but I will just give you a heads up on where this is going. They're going in to claim all of that Nelson area that is owned by the Queen Victoria and the Ngatiwikitoria people. It's all owned by us. And all those gravestones have got New Zealand Maori and New Zealand Maori chiefs and New Zealand Anglo first people of the St. Pauli ships all share the cemeteries. Those sacred places belong to us, and all of the natives that come onto those cemeteries have to have come off of our Queen Victoria lines. So they've all come off of there, and they're already buried on the sacred places. Now this woman called, so Rapata Taylor, if you go and look at Rapata Taylor and another lady called Johnston, now I'll go through the names here. The establishment of Nelson was agreed to by our family. They're saying that the families only date there, first settled there in 1845. Now this is absolutely not true. The first settlers there were in 1843. The St. Pauli ship with Tamati Wakanene welcomed them on to the land, and Patuoni, Eru Patuoni said, I am the father of the Pākehā, I'm their father. And both of those chiefs brought us onto that soil and tried to keep my ancestors there. The land was actually stolen from my ancestors, and not stolen from the Maori. All the land had been sold and had been given to the Germans in a German court. It all belonged to the Germans, and they had legally bought it. When they arrived in New Zealand, it was all taken from them, and they were given all of this area by Tamati Wakanene, and Patuoni gave it to them, all in this area in replacement for all the lands that were stolen from them. Now that was all done in 1843, and around about 8 people got killed in a thing called the Wairau Foray, which I'm not going to talk about, but they're going into claim. But all unions, they're claiming only 10%. Wait a minute. So this is Carenza Johnston, all right? Carenza Johnston and Rapata Taylor, and they are going in to claim the Nelson tenths, and the guts of the case is about restoring money. Bullshit. You're not after mana. You're after mani, the mani, which is called mani, which is the fruit of the tree. They're after, whenever they talk about mana, they're talking about the fruit of the tree, which is from the labours. And it's a 10-week hearing that's going to begin in the Wellington High Court, and I'm going to file submissions to be accepted as part of this case, because we have not been privy. Now I'm already in at the lawyers. It's no good killing me, because I've got a lot of Queen Victoria people that are behind me, and they are New Zealand Maori. If you're a New Zealand Maori, listen to me. If you're a New Zealand Maori and you've got one of those Queen Victoria documents, and I've got a couple of special people that are, you're going to be standing on the ship with Kate Floss. We're going in the court and we're fighting against the 10% because we want to keep the 100%. Now, why do we want the 100% and we don't want 10%? This is because Claire Charters, who works at the United Nations, wants this 10% transferred into the United Nations so they can build their refugee housing on it and put in their stateless people onto the soil. They're planting them. Now, in 1843, they brought the German settlers. Now, those Germans were stateless. They had no nationality. They had no citizenship. They were of God, the same as the native New Zealanders. These native Germans were exactly the same. They'd never been citizens. They were just of the land of Germany. They scooped them off the land of Germany and they brought them to New Zealand as the empty vessel. They were not able to use English people, and they couldn't use English people because English, Scottish, and Irish were already subjects. So they obviously couldn't make people that were already subjects of the Queen within the lands of New Zealand if they were already subjects. It just wasn't possible. So they scooped up these native people of Germany and they brought them to New Zealand as empty vessels, meaning they had no earthly laws placed on them. They were completely free, no different from the lion and the tiger in the jungle. And then they took Queen Victoria and Tamati Wakanene and their spirits went into them. And they planted them as the first trees into New Zealand as subjects of Queen Victoria. And all nationality of New Zealand was balanced on that, and that's how they created citizenship on top of those people. Now, what they're trying to do now, they've removed the crown from the New Zealand courts, they've removed the crown from the robes, they've replaced it with 3 wicker baskets. And now the wicker comes under the witches' laws, where they used to burn people on the wicker basket. In the New Zealand courts, they are now wearing a judge's robe with 3 wicker baskets on it. And Claire Charters is going into the court under the wicker baskets, not under the crown. And so we've got to get in the courts and go under the crown, because the crown's not really the judge anymore. The judges, so we have to go in as the judge and force the wicker baskets to stand under us. Now, those stateless people that are coming in,